Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So it's Sunday morning, as you can see from the title. We're going to talk about vintage because I love talking about vintage, but I wanted to talk about something specific when it comes to vintage today. And if you see that thumbnail, that is a vintage hamper, and it's all metal, and it got the wheels in my head thinking, right? So I curb surfed that. For those of you that don't know what that means I was driving down the road. I was actually driving the school bus, and I looked over into a pile of trash, and I saw this hamper. And I've wanted a hamper for a while. And I see them at Goodwill, but they were always the more modern ones where they're like a woven and there were holes in them and things like that. I'm sure lots of you are saying to yourself, well, if you wanted a hamper, why didn't you just go buy a hamper? I know, right? That would be what normal people do. But I wanted a vintage hamper and I wanted a metal one. And they're very hard to find now. Most of them are plastic. And I knew exactly what I wanted. And when I went past that curb and I saw that, I went back with my car after I dropped off the kids and I got it and I like it. So that got me thinking about vintage and why I like vintage things. Which led to another little observation that I'm sure a lot of you have had also. The vintage stuff is made so well. It just really is. Like that hamper specifically, the back of it is all, it's got holes in it. It's like aerated so that if you throw a wet towel or something in there, your clothes don't mold up or rot. Because back in the old days, women did not do laundry every day. Laundry was a huge ordeal. Even with the advent of the washer and dryer, they were kind of expensive to run. They were more time consuming. They didn't have the short cycles like they have now. And it was a big deal. You had to like lug wet laundry, but like all of this stuff. Most women still hung their clothes out my mom still hung her clothes out until she died, basically. Um, this is the way women live. So, you had all these clothes. You didn't do laundry every day. You did laundry on Mondays. Monday was laundry day, right? So if you had a hamper and the kids threw a towel in it, you didn't want all your clothes getting mildewy, right? The other thing is that I should point out is that hamper is for a family, which is funny because I'm going to use it for me, but it's for a family because people just didn't have that much clothing. And raise your hand if your mother used to tell you, when you come home from school, change out of your school clothes and into your play clothes. And remember, your play clothes were like the pants that were a little too short or had like a giant hole in the knee that she just couldn't repair anymore, or cut off shorts. That was another thing. I had so many pairs of cut off shorts. When I ruined a pair of jeans, my mom just cut them off and they became shorts, right? Do we remember this? This was before people actually bought jeans with holes in them already. That's a whole nother episode because don't get me started on that one. But so I picked up this hamper. I'll show you guys. I should, you know what? I'll take a picture and I'll put it in the comments of what it looks like now, because all I did to it so far was clean it, and it already looks 100 times better. It also obviously was owned by someone that smoked, because as I was cleaning it, I could smell cigarettes, and a lot of the discoloration on it, the yellow, was nicotine. And it came right off. That's the thing with nicotine. You just wash it. It comes right off. So I used Barkeeper's Friend, which works great. And I use this stuff you get at the dollar store. It's yellow and it comes in a spray bottle, and it's a degreaser, and I use it on my stove. And I decided to use it on that. Took all the nicotine off. It was crazy, like how quickly this thing cleaned up. You'll see in the thumbnail there's some weird discoloration. I'll show you what that is. Hold on. It had a beautiful wheat pattern on it originally, which was really pretty because it was gray, like a taupey gray, and pink. It was so pretty. But someone decided to put this on it at some point in time. This is a cheap plastic. And you can see it's all broken up here and everything, so it must have fallen apart. And look, this is what I'm having trouble with. I'm assuming this is rubber cement, which is very properly named because it never comes off. But I am scrubbing it, trying to get the outline of the glue off of it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to save the original. I did find pit marks in it when I was scrubbing it. I possibly could have even done it. I might have scrubbed the paint right off, but so I may have to spray paint it. We'll see. But it looks 100 times better already, and it's white. you know, it's not yellow like it looked. The top looks great. The top is this kind of a vinyl that was like, had a marbly kind of tint to it. And so it looks great. I cleaned that all up and that looks great. It had paint, a little bit of paint spatter on it, got that off, and it just looks good. And for me, it's perfect because I love a little dent and scratch vintage. It's one of my favorite things. So I'm going to throw this away now. So of course, while I'm working on this, I'm thinking about the fact that one of the reasons I love vintage stuff is vintage things were made with the idea that you were going to buy one. You weren't going to keep buying them. It's not like today where there is this planned obsolescence or obsolescence, whichever way you want to pronounce it. I mean, take a look at your phone. Your phone, what, 2 years tops? And then the battery doesn't charge anymore and you have to get a new phone. Interesting, right? All of that waste is going into a landfill. If you've seen my channel before, you know how I feel about landfills, right? And things like patterns and hampers going into landfills, right? In fact, it's interestingly enough, I read a while back that the country of France, yes, you heard me right, the country of France sued Apple because you couldn't fix Apple phones. And they said, no, we don't allow products that you can't fix. You have to be able to fix these. And they won. So Apple had to actually market a phone in France that you can change the battery on, you can change the screens on most Apples. The screens, whatever needs to be fixed, it can be fixed rather than just thrown away. I thought that was great. And it made me wonder why every country does not have a law like this. Why is this not illegal? We have a planet that literally is on fire. I mean, last night, we had one of those cyclone bomb storms. Yesterday, the temperature went from about 45 to 18 overnight. It snowed because it had been raining all day. But the thing that was most scary about this storm was you could hear the wind. There's actually outside, there are tiles from the roof on the ground outside my apartment that got blown off by this windstorm. My poor dog was terrified because it was loud. It was very, very loud. It sounded like a hurricane. It really did, except that it was snowing. You could see the snow. It was like being in a snow globe. You could see it going around in the circle. It was a very odd storm. But perfect example, like, why do we keep creating all this trash on this planet? We have these issues. Why are we not making this illegal? I had a printer that lasted 2 years. It was designed to just stop after 2 years. I kept getting messages saying that my computer did not support this printer. And then I found out that that printer couldn't be used with any computer, that it just, after 2 years, it doesn't work anymore. That's ridiculous. It's a big hunk of plastic. I do have it in my car right now. I'm going to take it to a guy that works on my sister's computers and see if he actually knows how to fix it. But, you know, this is a perfect example of the difference between vintage and modern. First of all, most of the modern stuff is such crap because they want you to buy another one in a year or two, right? So you're spending your hard-earned money on something that you know you're going to have to replace. Whereas if you can find the vintage alternative to it, it's already lasted somebody else 20 years because that's vintage is at least 20, right? It might last you 20. You know, in my case, the hamper just really needed to be cleaned, and I'll figure out what to do about getting the glue off from that decal, and I might have to paint it. Big deal. I'll have to paint it. Not the end of the world. That hamper still works, and it's solid metal. It's got like funky brass-plated handles on the side that I'm going to have to take off and I'm going to have to clean them and respray them. But it'll look great when I get done that. You know, it's still in great shape, right? And there's lots of other stuff actually that's still being made that's not technically vintage, that the original design is so good, there's been very few updates. Case in point is ball jars. I used to can a lot. I don't can as much anymore. The ball jar, which was invented in 18 something in like Napoleonic France, right, is still the same idea. It's a tempered glass that can withstand high temperatures. They've changed the lids. I haven't tried the reusable lids. I have so many of the other lids that I'm going to go through them first. But they haven't been changed really. The glass itself hasn't really been changed. I have Le Creuset pans. Yes, those very famous, expensive French cast enamel over cast iron. And yes, I have the orange flame red, or the orange flame is what they call it. My mom got it for me. I've had those since 1994. I consider them almost indestructible because I've had them that long. They've moved that many times with me. So that's what, 37 years, 37 years? They're still great. That frying pan is the best pan to make potatoes in. So basically what I'm saying, which I've said a million times before, is vintage stuff is better. Go find the vintage version of things. It'll probably last you longer and cost you less. You might have to mess with it, like maybe paint it or clean it or whatever, but probably a better option. And think about the planet when you buy stuff. I know it's really tempting to be like, I just need a fill in the blank, and you go to wherever and you go buy it because you just need it that day and whatever. But then in 2 years, you might be throwing it out, right? So that's the thing that sucks. In 2 years, you might be throwing it out and getting a new one. So I always think about that now. But that's my soapbox for today. Why I love vintage, why I think vintage is a better buy. So until my next video, please like, subscribe, and comment. I'd love to hear your comments about the good vintage stuff you found and the stuff that you found that kind of lasts forever and the design has not really changed all that much, like ball canning jars. So until the next video, which is Tuesday, have a great day. Bye.